days, I think. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. And I see that Wake Up and Smell the Rosemaries is giving us a nice, simple polite, hi, fellow Scottish extremists. You're all extremists, every single one of you. Seriously.
And anybody that's not from Scotland, I'm afraid you can't have that title. Right. Good afternoon, folks. We'll see who's in a minute. Let's get introduced. It's the two diddery old geezers talking politics again.
Excuse me. One diddery old geezer and one young and beautiful.
I know. Yeah. Am I? Anyway, let's take down Rosie's comment. And I can assure you, folks, Rosie is an extremist.
Yes.
She's an extremely good extremist, extremely drinking extremist.
What's the phrase? She's an extremist who lives on the island of extreme, lives down Extreme Lane, and her mother's called Mrs. Extreme. There you go.
That's Rosie. Right. Let's look. Tommy Murray, Desiree Brincat, Stephen Bankier, Andy Luke. Hello, Andrew. I'll need your app video done for you. Rosie's in. Lorna Shields in. Kirsty Fald's in. Francis McKenna's in. Peter M's in. Stevie Charlton's in. Robert the Bruce is in. Stevie Bankier's in. Who else we got? John Baxter. Stephen Nichol, who tells us it's nice and sunny in Methil today. Don't know whether he's having his own or no. And Tina's in for Dundee. Hi, Tina. Melanie's in for Sweden. Okie dokie. No First Ministers this week, David.
Just a message for Melanie. The hooch moo, the goo, the hoo, the hoo,
I know you. It's a Larry the Cat, son. So no doubt Rachel for accounts will be making an appearance at some point. Right, as I was saying, David, no First Ministers this week because the Scottish Parliament is in recess from the 11th to the 26th of October. But there is a lot of politicking going on, as I know.
Oh, yeah.
The elections campaign is underway. Labour has been giving free range on the BBC to tell Scotland Shire how shite it is and how dare the change that Scotland needs.
Yes.
Unfortunately, it's not working for Sarwar.
You enjoying that coffee?
It's not bad. And of course, we've got the Tories, David. Russell Finlay dragging out their termination and their demise by telling us that they're the people we should trust with the Scottish economy. What do you reckon of that?
I don't.
No, there they are. They've never been the levers. They've never had the levers of power in Hollywood, and they're never going to. So the Greens are being ignored. The Lib Dems are being ignored. So basically, Tory and Labour have been given free range. And of course, Reform, as you know, David, they're not really making that much noise up here because they've only got one leader.
Yeah, we're talking about the Kerr, the councillor. He wasn't Labour, then he went to Tories, then he walked the carpet don't forget, not the floor, he walked the carpet to Reform. So in other words, he applied to become a member, right?
Well, he's getting a bit of airtime because they've not got anybody else to represent him here at the moment, really. He's
on every programme. Because he's Reform, BBC are going, great, right, let's sign you up for the next 2 years and we're going to give you 2.5 years of airtime. How's about that?
Well, you know, the BBC have a rule on impartiality, and that means they're supposed to cover all the parties evenly.
What? So last night, debate night.
Never seen it.
Yeah, this prick on from Reform that isn't actually. I don't count a councillor as being a politician. Someone's that I don't, right? And at the end of the day, he's on, and they didn't have anybody from Lib Dem on.
Well, as I say, the Greens and Lib Dems are totally ignored by the press anyway here in Scotland.
Yeah, I tried. No, I was trying to stay away from the Green bit, right? But if you imagine BBC being BBC, surely could have given that to Lib Dems. Yeah.
It would have been a long travel for them, wasn't it? It was in Lockerbie, and the nearest Lib Dems Edinburgh.
Yeah. Right.
Well, as I say, the politicking is going on.
Yeah.
And of course, the SNP conference at the weekend, they've more or less launched their election pitching on now.
Yep.
As we know, with the voting, the idea of how we're going to get a new referendum. And then, of course, that moves us on to John Swinney's keynote speech where he announces drop-in appointment list, drop-in GP centres. Yep. 15 of them to open, apparently, and they will run from 12 in the afternoon to 8 o'clock at night. And we have got the Royal College of General Practitioners, their boss, Dr. Chris Williams, doubting that they can staff it.
Well, I to be honest with you, I did listen, as you probably picked up on, I watched Debate Night last night, and Emma Harper, SNP, the MSP, she mentioned, I forget the name of the body, but there's a body that actually deals with the education of new doctors and the placement of new doctors specifically for rural areas.
Uh-huh.
Right? So at the end of the day, it's like the getting doctors to go into these places. There's a lot of doctors that can't get a job.
Well, anyway, this Chris Williams, he claims the amount of GPs in Scotland has dropped in the last decade.
But we know that's not the case.
The BBC put them right in the report by saying that the GP numbers have been up from 3,500 to 4,500 in the last 10 years.
So one must ask the question of, this chap is supposed to be for Scotland, yes? And
he's the Royal Council of General Practitioners here in Scotland, yes.
And so therefore, why is he feeding us with wrong information?
I don't know.
Because if anybody knows, he knows.
He should know, aye.
Yeah.
Anyway, how many GPs does Scotland have? Well, the number of GPs per head count in Scotland has actually increased in the last 10 years from 4,393 in 2015 to 4,582 in 2025. So it's no 1,000 that's wrong by it, it's just a couple hundred. But this does not take into account whether they work full-time or part-time. Another way to measure the workforce is by looking at the whole-time equivalent, a unit that measures the number of full-time positions. Scotland's working time equivalent figure has decreased between 2015 and 2025 from 3,675.1 to 3,591.1. That's working time that's went down. The number of GP practices in Scotland has also fallen by 10% over the past decade, from 987 to 885. But as we know, David, a lot of them were consolidated into these big new centres. You've got quite yes,
massive, absolutely massive, right?
Yep.
So at the end of the day, it's like, how do you feel about this? Well, I'll tell you what. If I was in charge, if I ruled the world, right, let's say, right, regarding Scotland, right?
God forbid.
Yeah. I look at GP practice and I think, hang on a second. People like their GPs, right? Fair enough. I don't argue with that, right? But I haven't had a GP, a personal GP, for years and years and years, like most people, right?
Aye.
Plus the fact GP practices cost a lot of money, an awful lot of money. So there's one simple way to actually deal with that. So it brings down the cost of the GPs, is actually set something up, part of the Scottish government, that's in competition with GP practices. And in actual fact, looking at this, that's exactly what they're doing.
Yep.
And you can imagine that if they've got these walk-in GP practices all over Scotland, the GP practices, the traditional ones, are going to think, why is it getting awful quiet at the moment?
Anyway, the idea of them opening between 12 and 8 is so that people can get there after work, sort of thing.
Yeah, or open a Saturday.
It's going to be operating 7 days a week, yes.
Yeah, yeah, correct. I didn't know it was 7 days, I thought it was 6 days. 7 days, right?
7 days a week.
So, what you've done is, if you remember, Maggie Thatcher said, let market forces decide, right? Well, in this case, in this one particular case, that's one place where we can use market forces to our benefit.
Yes, we know that the GPs practices are set up as private businesses. We do know that.
Yeah.
And these drop-in centres, David, will probably be in the heavily populated areas.
Yeah. At the end of the day, it's like there is, but we're talking about heavily populated areas. We're discussing last night, Lockerbie. There's got to be one in that area as well.
Oh, aye.
No, it's not so heavily populated.
No, it's not so heavily populated, but the one there will be representing a huge area around about it.
Yeah, but if you listen to what John Swinney says in his strategy, as it were, there's going to be probably one of these in every street corner, supposedly. Yeah. So there you go. I agree with it. I wholeheartedly back it.
Well, and it makes access to medical services easier. I don't mind say I don't have a problem with my GP. We're lucky with that way, you know. And as I say, in these big areas like where you are, David, you don't have a personal physician. Well, as you can imagine, in rural areas, we still all have a personal physician.
No, at one time, seriously, I had a personal physician I used to go to, and that hasn't been the case for years and years and years. You just get bounced. That's how you bounce from pillar to post.
No, I see the one all the time when I go to the doctor.
Yeah. No, but the reason for that probably is that person's been there for years and years and years.
Yes.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. Aye, the surgery was set up with the guy that set it up is now away. Dementia took him. Yeah. He's out of the business. He's not dead, but he's not working in the business anymore because of dementia.
Yeah.
And the
fact that the GP practices are a private company is anathema to me. I do not, being a socialist, I don't like the idea of the GP practices being anything other than NHS.
I agree with you. Right, let's move on. Baroness Moan and her company, PP MedPro, has missed the deadline to repay 122 million to the UK government. As we know, the day before the judgment was given down from the High Court on this contract being unfulfilled or incorrectly fulfilled, so breach of terms. PP MedPro went into administration with only £660,000 in assets and cash.
Assets or debts. In business, when you look at the P&L sheet for a business, any debts that you have are counted as assets. Well, yeah. So that's effectively, you owe somebody money, that's counted as an asset. Yeah.
Well, now what the government said is they're going after her. They're going to get this money back somehow. Apparently, I don't know how, because she's put all the money in trust to her children.
They're not. The government, they might say that they're going to get this money. We are not going to get it.
And HMR says this money up until it's paid will be subject to 8% interest per day. Apparently,
doesn't matter if the HMRC apply 100% interest per day. We're not going to get it. You can't get it. It's an old saying. You can't get blood out of a stone.
That's very true. And Doug Barrowman and Michelle Moan have made sure the money's well tied up. Maybe I'll ever get their poison up.
Yeah, it's at the end of the day, that's the beauty of a limited company. When I set up in business, I set up as a limited company. purely and simply because I was dealing with big boys' toys. And dealing with big boys' toys, it meant that they could actually come after, if I made a mistake, they could come after me personally, take my house and all this. So therefore, you set up as a limited company to protect yourself.
Yes, of
right?
course.
And but the problem is that certain unscrupulous people can use that same protection as a way of scamming. Where you just wind up, you literally wind up the company. That means you own nothing. End of story. Right?
You're a pound in each MRC. Fuck off.
Yeah.
End of story.
Yeah.
Right. So they're not getting their money back, David. That money's lost to public purse. But as I was saying this morning, if that's the only case they're going after, then Miss Moan's been scapegoated.
Definitely. I totally agree with that. It's funny and not unnoticed that even though I dislike her because of what she did and because of who she is and because of the party that she worked for during the referendum,
Yes.
right? Still in all, it's the fact that she's Scottish. And the reason why she's been used as a scapegoat for the billions, not millions, billions
Yes.
that have been disappeared into pockets within the Conservative Party.
And as I say, the biggest one that needs investigated really properly is the 37 billion Dido Hardo managed to disappear down the back of the fucking sofa.
Exactly. Why did it cost that amount of money?
No, because it only cost the Scottish Government 12.5 million quid.
Yeah, so why did it cost that amount of money for the track and trace system that was being provided by the English government? That to me, that just doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
Either.
Yeah.
But as I say, if they're just going after Moan and they're scapegoating, they should get after them all.
If you imagine she and her husband are protected by limited liability status, right? What's Dad Harden protected with?
Where is she?
Yeah.
I don't know.
What's she protected with?
Well,
it wasn't a limited company.
No, she was supposed to be running the English track and trace system.
Correct. Dead right. And is she a politician now?
Never a politician. She was in the House of Lords, wasn't she?
Yeah. So at the end of the day, it's like she has no protection. And so there you are. Yeah, go and see if you can get some money out of that.
It needs investigated anyway. Let's move on. The Good Law Project is taking the EHRC,
yeah,
a committee,
Equalities and Human Rights Commission, yeah,
on in the UK to court over the interim advice issued on single-sex spaces after the Supreme Court's ruling on gender.
Yes.
And apparently, this guidance that was issued broke human rights, so it's had to be taken back down.
Yeah, the situation we had was that let's say that you were a man that had been transitioning to be a woman, right? The initial guidance was that you were no longer able to use the female toilets. Right?
You're not allowed to use the toilet, which is your acknowledged gender.
But let me finish, right? But if you were a man transitioning to be a woman and you were dressed as a woman and all the rest of it, you were no longer able to use even men's toilets. So in other words, you were precluded from both ways.
Yes, that's correct.
The man's toilet and the woman's toilet, you go, which one do I go? You can't go either. If you are
transgender, just cut you out of public spaces altogether.
Yeah, that's right.
So of course, the interim guidance which was issued, a lot of companies and a lot of organisations have started using that guidance, and now it's had to be taken down. So there's a lot of companies and organisations who are now out with the law again. It's a bloody mess, David.
Oh, it's what's the phrase of one's? It's a lovely can of worms, isn't it? It's a big family sized can of worms.
So
It
the
really
Good
is,
Law
because
Project,
seriously, the most important thing is each one of these people that we consider as being transgender,
they're human.
human beings.
That's right. And legally, they should have the same rights as the rest of us.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
that's why the Good Law Project's taking this bunch of
doesn't
hobbits to
matter if
court.
you disagree with the idea, right? It doesn't matter if you are. Let's go back in time to the 1970s, the 80s. Let's say you're a bloke that doesn't like homosexuals, right? At the end of the day, they exist. Get your head around that. They exist and they ain't going away. Right? So therefore, you really need to get your head around that. And all the people ask you, oh, you've got to protect women and all the rest of it, right? The transgender, the one transgender person that I know is one of the loveliest people I've ever met.
Aye. Thank you, Roddy. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Now, the Good Law Project recognises that this interim advice that was handed out to organisations and to public bodies, they recognised right away that it was a breach of the transgender person's human rights. So therefore, the EHRC have had to take the interim advice down.
No, it doesn't matter when they take that down. The mere fact that they issue wrongful advice to begin with
Yes.
means that's why they're being taken to court.
Yes.
Okay, they make it's like stealing something from a shop and saying, "Oh, I'll put it back." Then you still stole it.
But you think about it, it's a fucking Equalities and Human Rights Commission. You'd think they would get it right,
Yes, but they haven't.
and they found themselves in court.
Yeah.
And it looks like the Supreme Court's ruling, it can't be overturned.
Well,
Now we're back at where we were supposed to be, and that is that these arseholes in Westminster start rewriting the 2010 Equalities Act.
yes. Yeah.
But I mean, that's just nuts. All the different businesses, organisations,
And amongst all of this is human beings that are in pain. Yeah, and
Yeah.
we're talking of human beings that are in pain. They can't go out the door. They're scared to go out their front doors.
Yes. That's one of the points the Good Law Project was making when they were doing their investigation. Yes, carry on.
If you're a human being, you can't get your head around the fact that somebody goes, I was born in the wrong body and I should be alone, I'm a man, or vice versa. You don't know. You simply don't know what that person's going through. And therefore, you need to
Aye,
give
like this.
you need to give a little on that, you know.
Aye.
Goodness sake, guys.
As I
You're a
say,
human
but
being.
the equivalent, the Equalities and Human Rights Committee being taken to court by the Good Law Project for breaking human rights, you couldn't make it up.
No.
It shows you how fucked up things are, David.
Listen, hey, let's just all become independent tomorrow morning. How's about that? We would wake up tomorrow morning and we've got Scotland is independent, and we just say to Westminster, look, sorry guys, that's it. We've given you a fair crack at the whip, and really you fuck things up well and truly.
Aye, no half. Right, the Scottish Government is being petitioned by Robbie the Pict to quash the 30-year-old convictions for protest and for folk refusing to pay the Skye Bridge tolls.
And I agree with that. And the reason I agree with that is because when that bridge was put together, what did they use for money?
It was a private initiative.
PFI, which was Labour's way of passing round blooming brown envelopes, right? And as the PFI is used over and over and over again to gouge the government of the day.
Well, in this case, it was the PFI. It was a private company built the bridge.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is,
We had to buy it off them, of course, aye.
Yeah. Right, so at the end of the day, it's like there should be zero, should be absolutely zero cost for travelling across that bridge.
Now, when I read this, I thought, fuck, Robbie the Pig, he no deed. He's been around a long time as well, Robbie, as you know. I remember 20 odd years ago, 30 years ago, protesting this stuff, 20 odd years ago, protesting this stuff.
What he's asking for basically is saying, look, it's like, I've got this black mark against my name.
Yep.
Let's just drop it.
Well, there's quite a few up in that community have got black marks on them because they were refusing to pay the bridge tolls and they were being taken to court and things like that. I
remember going to Dunvegan one time in the car, right? And I went across, and it was the last in the toll booth. And that's how much? £5 or something, whatever it was.
£5.70 it was, David.
And she says to me, I said, well, so I need to that come back. No, we only charge you one way.
You only charge you on the island.
We don't charge you need to get back off the island.
Yeah, took out that fucking bridge.
Yeah.
15 quid.
It's all right. No, obviously.
Obviously not now, at the time.
Yeah.
I say, but Robbie's been around a long time, and it was nice to see his picture again on the BBC website.
It's what a lot of people don't realise is bridge tolls. Bridge tolls hamper any movement within commerce.
It does. It slows commerce down, David, dramatically.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, it's like as a government, it's good, solid way to go is to actually take away the bridge tolls and actually just allow free movement, everything free movement, right? Because at the end of the day, it's like there's an advantage in taxation and all the rest of it, right? In terms of letting commerce get on with it.
Well, we all remember the bottleneck, which was the Erskine Bridge and the Forth Road bridges and the Tay Bridge.
Yeah. Well, what length is the Skye Bridge? It's about 300 and odd metres long, isn't it? Right?
I think it's 500 metres.
So you talk about somebody. Let's say somebody just managed to get a job in Skye, right? Managed to get a job in Skye, somewhere around about where the bridge drops off, right? Okay. And at the end of the day, it's like they've got to figure out it's a £5 every single day. So that's £25 out of my wage packet.
Well, when you think the Forth Road Bridge was only 80 pence, it is about outrageous, isn't it?
It is, absolutely.
Anyway, we Robbie wants his 130 convictions for non-payment and for protesting quashed. Quite right, Robbie. Hope you get your way.
Robbie basically just went, right, okay, it's me again, bye. That's that.
They heard about him for years. Obviously, he's a Facebook friend, but
yeah.
I just hadn't heard about. I remember him at the time when he was protesting this fucking bridge.
Yeah.
Right, let's move on. We've got wee Dougie Ross, convener of the Education, Children's and Young People's Committee at Holyrood, gone off his dinger because wee Dougie Alexander wouldn't show up at the committee. Now, wee Dougie Ross has got a bit of a brass neck, as you know, seen his Secretary of State for Scotland, Alistair Jack Boots Jack. He wouldn't show up at any committee in the Scottish Parliament at all.
But Douglas Ross does that. But any time, see if somebody actually says boo to Douglas Ross, busts it and greeting, and then goes and tells the police, right? In the story, that's it. So as far as I'm concerned, Douglas Ross wants to take a long walk off shop here.
Well, he's definitely making a lot of noise on the way out the door, isn't he? I can't wait he disappears after public consciousness.
Yeah, don't worry about it. He'll be gone after a while. Don't worry about it. All he's going to do is just create a load of shite.
Well, that's because they make fucking noise on the way out the door.
He knows. He knows what the future holds for him.
Aye. Public scorn.
Yeah.
He'll be seen as the Scottish people's memory of Douglas Ross when he goes back to being a linesman will be, what a fanny. That's rounded up. You know, and the people where he lives, they'll be ripping the piss out of him every time they see him.
Oh, wonderful. Yes. Yep.
You know,
please. If you need any phrases to use with Dougie Ross, please feel free to contact me and I'll give you loads of them.
Don't bother me, I've already gigged you them all. Yeah. There's only so many ways you can say wee fanny.
That's fine. There's all sorts, you know.
Yeah. Skid mark in Scottish society. There's a lot of ways you can describe a wee shite.
Margaret Mackay says, is Dross not being on an education committee not an oxymoron?
No half. No half, Margaret.
Yes, he is a bit of the village idiot, isn't he? So,
Yes, aye.
Yeah.
Reform UK has just done their own polling, apparently, and they're on their way for a supermajority of 450 MPs if the general election was held tomorrow.
No, but you have to look at it from the point of view of the company that have done this. This was done for reform,
By reform. I've just said.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, the idea from that polling is not to inform people, it's to make people act.
But it did make us go and look.
Yeah, well, what I'm trying to say is that it's the old thing that we've seen time and time again. People don't know what. Let's say we'll go back a few years, where you had Labour, Lib Dem, and Conservative with the main parties to go after, right? Before anybody considered the SNP series, but all the rest of it, right? People would go, oh, I don't know what to vote. Maybe I might vote Labour this time, I might vote Lib Dem this time. What they'll do is they'll wait till the last few days before the vote, and they'll look at who's winning, and they'll go, oh, Conservative are winning, I'll go vote Conservative. Right? No, but that's human nature. That's human. People like to back the winner. And Reform are effectively doing this now. Make themselves look like the winner, and therefore they'll get loads of backing.
Well, we did. David, as you know, I went and pulled up the mainstream polling. And the latest poll for the Holyrood, sorry, no Holyrood, for Westminster.
Yeah.
I'll put it up. Yeah. 15th of October, find out now. And it's got Labour on 15% vote share, Conservative on 17% vote share, Reform on 32% vote share, Lib Dems on 12, Greens on 15, SNP on 3, Plaid Cymru on 1, and the others on 4%. So where does Jeremy fit in here?
Nothing near the 44% that's being pushed in this particular poll that you were discussing now.
But if we look at the blue line there, that's Reform. Okay, next to the Conservative, the one that's been highlighted.
Yeah.
They've been out in front for a very long time.
Yeah. First off, let's look at some of the facts. Nigel Farage was the architect of Brexit. He basically was the architect of Brexit. He made it happen in the day, right? Many times was he on BBC. Well, my goodness me, he was on BBC a huge number of times when he didn't have any position as a politician whatsoever. So what's happened is our broadcasting company, the BBC, effectively have given Reform, and I don't care whatever they're called this week, Nigel Farage's party an unfair advantage. And it's through that we actually see this figure being bandied about.
As I say, if there wasn't an election tomorrow, Reform would win, but wouldn't be as big as that.
Well, don't know. I literally don't know. If you look at the main parties, Conservative, buggered, Labour, buggered, right? Lib Dem, they've sat in a corner and said bugger all, right? And then you've got Reform that are just going out offering people an ice cream if they vote for reform, whatever it is, whatever it takes, right? Well, we'll stop the small boats for you. We'll send them all back. And at the end of the day, it's like people are just falling for nonsense. Yeah, there you go.
Aye.
Yeah.
Thanks for the info, Andy. But as I say, they're being pushed by the mainstream media. There's no doubt about it. Now, I heard James O'Brien talking about this on LBC.
No.
And what he was saying is that they made the Tory party so successful through the years. Now that they're totally toxic, they need a new vehicle. And Farage is that new vehicle.
Farage has always been that vehicle, David. That's what you don't get. LBC, Farage has actually got a programme in LBC.
Not anymore, he's not.
Well, he did have.
He did have, yes.
Right. And at the end of the day, it's like you got to look at that and go, wow, here's a politician who was going to actually take the carpet away from everybody in his own programme, and he was a politician at the same time, right?
Don't think he was elected representative at the time.
He was, what was it? He was a leader of
UKIP.
Brexit Party, right?
Brexit Party at the time, I saw it was.
So there you go. At the end of the day, it's like, you're going to say to me he didn't have political influence? Of course he did. Of course he did. And then also what we're doing is by giving him a programme on a
David, I'm not doubting that he influenced and shoved the Tories to the right, to the destruction, actually.
No, but you look at LBC. People listen to LBC, ring into their shows and all the rest of it, right? He had a programme on that.
That's right.
And that therefore, he wasn't just influencing politicians, he was influencing people.
Say, there's no doubt that he was given a platform.
He was saying on that particular, on the programmes that he was doing, he was on about also, he was on about blooming privatising the NHS, bringing in insurance for NHS. People are still listening to him. People are still listening to reform. After that.
You mean Nigel? They're not really listening to reform at all. They're listening to Nigel Farage.
Yes, but Nigel Farage was the one who was saying these things.
There is no doubt that he was given influence and he shoved the Tory party to destruction.
Yeah.
But the people who made the Tory party successful are now throwing their money at Farage.
Yes. Oh, no.
So he's just a replacement. Now, some were calling him a Tory tribute act.
As I said, it's easy to spot a fascist. Just ask them to salute. That's all you need to do.
As I say, what do you call it? He was toxic. Now he's the person that all these people who backed the Tories are now throwing their money behind. Same septic people who ruined the UK are now lining up behind Farage to continue the same thing.
In other words, what I'm going to say to everybody that supports reform is, what's worse? People that come here in small boats and get locked up in hotels, or people with loads of money that are able to change your life for the worse.
No bad if you can get it, Andy.
And fly about in private jets. Yeah? What's worse? What's worse? Seriously, tell me, what's worse?
What's worse, what?
People in small boats or people in blooming executive jets?
Obviously, people in executive jets.
Right.
Okay, this one's quite funny, David, and it's well worth having a laugh at, folks. BBC boss says viewers are concerned the BBC is influenced by government. Now, Tim Davie, the head of BBC at this point in time, he says they've done a survey of 870,000 people online. 43% of those thought that the BBC was impartial. 38% of them thought there was government influence, and 91% of them all believe there should be no influence. But to have Tim Davie tell us there's no government influence in the BBC when he was government appointed to the BBC by the last government is a bit fucking funny, don't you think?
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
And if anybody believes that the BBC are not influenced one way or the other, I simply point you back to 2014 referendum.
I'll point you out.
No, what I'm saying. Looking at that particular moment in time, that was where you saw BBC in their true colours. They were not for Scotland. They were not for anybody in Scotland whatsoever, unless those people in Scotland were going, no, no, no. End of story, right? So BBC, you should never, ever.
I don't know what your point is. You don't need point for as far back, is it? But because John Robertson lets us know it's still happening every day.
We know that, David. But the difficulty is it gets hard. Sometimes it gets harder and nuanced and all the rest of it, right? Whereas back at that time, the BBC definitely were not for the people of Scotland.
That was another area where they were politicised as well. Thanks, Stevie Chilton. The Gulf War and the so-called WMDs.
Yes. Right.
But as we know, Pacific Key is just a propaganda machine.
Yeah.
Of the Labour Party.
The BBC are effectively there is a chap that I used to know online. He was a BBC sound engineer. He's the guy that twiddled the knobs that let you hear what the newscasters were saying, right? Okay. And what happened was the General Belgrano was destroyed by the British Navy back at the time of the war. Right? Right? Okay. And at the time, it would have been under Maggie Thatcher's call, kill them, right? Okay. Well, what happened? That same night, when they were going to put out the information on the news, in came the MI5, and they took over the entire broadcasting station for the night. They knew all the jobs and all the rest of it, and he was told, go, right? You'll be ushered out the back door, whatever, right? And that was it in the story. And we've got a situation there where that's the BBC. The BBC are controlled by the British establishment. Simple as that. Part of the British establishment is MI5. And MI5 are the working end of that control.
Aye.
Why do you think it is that everybody who works in the news services has to be interviewed by the MI5? Not just a journalist. They have to be interviewed by the MI5 before they get a job with the BBC.
Well, I do know something. The BBC Pacific Key is full of fucking Labour people, sons and daughters of previous politicians.
Hmm.
And they all attend the one school and all, Glasgow Academy.
Yeah.
That's the MI5 and how much input they've got in the BBC. I wouldn't know. What we do know is the BBC Scotland had a cull of pro-independence reporters prior to the 2014 referendum.
I remember that well. What was the famous lad on the?
It was their chief political correspondent at the time. What was his name again? He died recently.
Okay, good guy. He was a good guy. I
He
remember.
founded Newsnet Scotland.
Yeah.
I thought you did you write for that at one point?
Yeah. Yes.
Right. That's where wee Ginger Doug did his first articles as well.
Well, no, we Ginger Doug was doing other articles on another paper. The Newsnet Scotland became rather important.
Aye, it did. The referendum Newsnet Scotland became very important. Derek Bateman it was.
Derek Bateman.
Really nice fella. I met him a good few times.
Yeah. Good guy.
Was a nice guy. As I say, but the BBC, as you know, they did a cull of all the pro-independence reporters at the time.
There was a lass that was a journalist for the BBC, not Fraser, the financial chap for the BBC, but this was Isabel Fraser, I think it was. She was pro-independence, and she actually came to one of the SNP conferences in Glasgow, the one that took place at the SECC. And seriously, it's like she was very good. She was a nice lady, and I remember at the time that she was in, she wasn't representing BBC at the time. She was just in. She talked to me and Leslie, and what happened was we were having a good laugh. But Brian Taylor, big heavy Brian Taylor, running up the stairs because he wanted to actually get somebody to interview them, right? Honestly. And then he would come back to the stairs. So Brian Taylor was actually
right. There must have been fucking earthquakes at every footstep.
Oh, there was just a bit, yes.
Building must have been rattling.
Honestly. But anyway, we had a good laugh with it.
Brian Taylor was, to be fair, he's been much better since he retired.
Yeah, I do remember the guy doing the NATO debate, and that was, that was a very, very good, very honest. Shows what a democratic party the SNP are, right? And he said that himself.
Yes, he was talking about the NATO debate, and
he said this is one of the best political debates I've ever seen in my life.
To be fair to Brian Taylor, the minute he was out the BBC, he seemed to be a wee bit more on our side of the game.
Yeah, because within the BBC, they are controlled. Obviously, they are.
Yeah. He's much fair to speak now, and he speaks a lot.
Yeah.
Right, let's move on. Digital fucking IDs are back in the news as the Labour front bench tried to assure backbenchers and MPs that things will be fine with it, and it's only for checking that people have the right to work. David, there's a history that it goes back. There's a timeline behind this. It started and Tony Blair, and a very recent example of how this system wouldn't be allowed to work was when they introduced voter ID. Yeah, because they wanted to introduce digital ID so you could vote. And that
was it. George Osborne and David Cameron.
Yeah. Aye. And then later on, we had, of course, the voter ID introduced. I think that was under Sunak at the time, wasn't it? And Bojo the Clown. Or was it under?
Yeah, I think so. And it made it impossible for certain people to go and vote. Some of that.
Aye. But see, they couldn't put out digital IDs either. And there's a reason for it, isn't there? There's the Human Rights Act.
Now, for starters, right? Initially, when they bring out this digital ID, it's going to be to prove that you are able to work. You already have that through your national insurance number, right? That's point one. The next thing is, if you've got a driving license or a passport or whatever, it's like, for example, the driving license gives your address, it's a picture of you on it. Same with your passport as well. And at the end of the day, it's that either of those official documents are enough to cover that. But the thing is, what the British government want to do is they want to put health information. Right? Now, may I just say that insurance companies will be buying information of the British government left, right, and centre, and if you'll be, if you like, hampered to get insurance because perhaps as a child you had a wee hole in the heart that was sewn up and all the rest of it, but still in all, there's a question mark over you. People that are diabetic might be controlling that diabetes quite well, but you're going to get health insurance, or you're going to, not health insurance, you're going to get insurance, just life insurance, whatever, right? No, I don't think so.
Well, once you put all your biometrics and all your information on it, then they're also going to put a chip on it so they can track you. It's just not on.
Yeah. So I have to say, it's like, yeah, both Dave and I are both sure in this. We don't want this. However, the Labour government are working hard to try and convince their own MPs in order to get a majority to get something through Westminster with regard to this. And that is a case of be afraid, be very afraid.
Well, Andy Scott Bryan has just told us that digital ID in Estonia, 3/4 of the population data leaked. Their digital ID system, now they do the digital voting and all that.
Yeah.
Apparently it's been hacked and they've nicked all your information.
Yeah. Well, but you look at other companies that we give our information to, Facebook, X, or whatever, all these different social media companies, right? And whether you like it or not, all your information is being taken bit by bit. So, for example, if I take a photograph of my kids, or let's say my youngest, when she was going to primary school, someone's got a picture of my living room. All those things, all those bits of information will be pieced together, a jigsaw puzzle, and it'll be a complete picture over years. Yeah.
Aye.
So at the end of the day, it's like you can put together an algorithm whereby all that information is stored and put away in one person. You become a pigeonhole, pigeonhole, right? And in that pigeonhole is information on you. We're not talking about everything. We're talking about crucial information, right? At the end of the day, you go, guys. So you're already giving that information to social media. What's going to happen now is you're going to give it to the government. But social media, it's a good idea for them to keep that quiet, keep the information safe, because you saw what happened to Facebook a few years back, right? But the government, are they good at holding private data?
Not very well, no, but we'll go. Kirsty's going it there. Says if it was as innocent as making sure you be able to work, why is it a pensioner need ones? They don't fucking work.
No.
And there was another comment there I wanted to put up. I need to find it. What? Calling Facebook, Peter M's a wee teapot. No, I can't find it.
Lord Mackenzie says that the Estonian ID information is on blockchain, so it cannot be hacked.
Blockchain can be hacked.
Blockchain can be hacked, yes. Not supposed to say that.
I've been saying it for a long time. You've been saying it for a long time.
Yeah.
Right, David, we're going to wind this one up on these words will ring true in everybody's ears because you said them before the Israelis said them. And you said the Israelis would use the hostage release to say that Hamas has broke the ceasefire.
Yes.
Now, the US government's playing it down. Hamas has told the Israelis they can't get any more of the dead hostages to them because A, they can't get into Gaza City, and B, they don't have any heavy equipment to lift the rubble off the fucking top of them.
Yeah, I mean, people have got this silly idea in the head of a morgue, a nice white morgue with all these drawers with the bodies in, all kept frozen for goodness knows all. You're after the morgue, these 28 bodies, are you? Oh, they're all here, right? There we go. No, sorry, sorry.
It's like Hamas was
they
telling
didn't have they didn't have power to keep anything cold, right? So can you imagine keeping a hold of a body?
Basically, what Hamas was telling the rest of the world was, Israel, we can't give you back your hostages because you fucking bombed them.
Yeah.
They're under the rubble. We can't get there until we're clearing up.
Yeah, we think they're somewhere over there, you know. So,
Right.
so what's actually happened is the IDF have gone in, they've overrun Rafah, near the Rafah crossing,
Aye, Ellie.
and therefore you've not got any food or aid, food aid or whatever coming in through the Rafah crossing. So it's all been kept quiet from us. It's all been silenced.
Aye, we know they're back at using food as a weapon of war again.
Yeah, that's right.
It's disgusting. And I mean disgusting.
And then there's the speech that Trump had in the Knesset, where effectively he was saying to Netanyahu, yeah, you asked me for all sorts of weapons that I didn't know the name of and all the rest of it, right? But you used them so well. What the fuck does that mean? What the hell? Please explain to me, somebody.
What it means is
What
what sort of equipment his own army uses. That's what it means. But as I say, Hamas has been blamed for breaking the ceasefire. The Americans have told Israelis to behave themselves because they can't give them the rest of these 28 because they don't know where they are. They're up in Gaza somewhere. Can't access them.
The Americans saying to the Israelis, you can't go any further because, well, effectively you're going to cost us in America lots and lots and lots of money. So what will be happening is all the Arab countries that were looking at this and looking how America, their partner, is going to control this, so they stay with America, right? They're looking at it and going, well, Israel are doing what the hell they like. Simple as that.
Aye. Right, David, that's us. Had whatever. Folks, that's the two talking heads. Finney's talking. The two diddery old gits. Because I've got work to go to.
All I can say to you is, my lady, independence, independence, independence. Simple as that.
Well,
keep your eyes on the prize.
I'll see it in my lifetime. I don't know if you'll see it in yours.
I'm going to live to be 150. Sorry, son.
Hey, right.
You're the one that's still smoking. I've stopped smoking.
I know. Hey, what do you call it, folks? The election campaign is underway. Get your campaigning heed out.
Yes.
Yep. And get out there and campaign or SNP 1 and 2 in it again. So it's actually a prize.
At the end of the day, for goodness sake, just talk to your neighbours. Talk to your pals. Talk to people in the pub. Talk to people at work, whatever, right?
Who goes to pubs these days?
You don't need to cause an argument. You just need to say, look, I've been looking what's happening with Westminster these days. You don't think it's a good idea that Scotland sort of like goes a different direction to what these bunch of idiots have got us going?
So SNP is the change we need. Right, say goodbye, David.
Goodbye, David.
Goodbye, David. See you tomorrow morning, 10:30. Don't be late.